Hey kids, welcome back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Once again, we are goonless on a Thursday. Chris Buchanani.
What are you going to do?
Once again.
Sorry.
Charlie Patch is starting the whole doggone week.
Sometimes you just can have Chaz come in and the stretch run, win one of those Bengals games for you.
Yes, indeed.
Maybe just keep the Baltimore game close into the fourth quarter. Just don't make any mistakes. Don't turn the ball over.
All we're looking for.
Make good decisions.
I got the mistakes covered. You don't need to worry about a thing there, Booch. I got the mistakes. Man, lots to get into today. PGA Championship is underway, and action continuing as we come on the airwaves here this afternoon. I guess they're not technically airwaves. Whatever. We come on the bandwidth here.
I'm looking. They've got it on the televisions here at State College's Quaker Steak and Lube, which is always a great place to come and eat some wings and watch some sports. Ironhead, do you remember what golf used to look like back in the 80s, what the golfers looked like?
Oh, yes.
I mean, they do not look like they did when we were growing up. Like Tiger Woods came in and he introduced like strength training and conditioning and everything. I used to love watching pro golfers and be like, man, look at that guy. He's a pro athlete who made millions of dollars this year, and he is a fat slob.
Yep, there's few places. Bowling still can have have those. There are few places anymore where you can have that.
A couple of baseball players.
Still some outliers in golf, but boy, more and more they're seeing the benefit, and obviously it makes sense. But there's no question that Tiger revolutionized the thinking there in terms of physical fitness and strength training and all of that in the world of golf. And that combined with the advancements in the technology with the equipment, and it really is amazing what these guys can do.
One less place for the bums of the world to find inspiration.
Amen. Yeah, we still have our bocce league, so we got that going for us
there you go. Nice.
Couple things out of the gate, but talking to a lot of people, people are jacked about that Auburn game, not surprisingly, but I mean, like, it might as well be this weekend for the way people are talking about it and revved up for it. And I do think the atmosphere that night is just going to be extremely special. I mean, those whiteout games are obviously always very special and greatest spectacle in college football and all of that. But, man, even by whiteout standards, I think this thing is going to be next level special.
Sure.
And I'm presuming that there is still no official announcement. Auburn has their fans are lobbying to be officially the whiteout game here for Penn State.
You told me
they want that.
Well, they just want the respect. They want to say, like, well, what are we not whiteout worthy?
I honestly, and this is kind of a cool thing. I think they just having the opportunity to play Penn State, right? I mean, it's neat for both of these schools. I mean, it's really cool as a Penn State grad to see Penn State playing Auburn, and I think Auburn has that same feeling. It's just a neat game, but I think it's one of those things that you see on TV and you want to and listen, as an Auburn fan, right? It's probably likely once in a lifetime type of thing that you would have a chance to be a part of, again, what ESPN has dubbed the greatest spectacle in college football. So, I mean, I think it's it may be partially that they want the respect for the program. I think it's more that they just want to be there to see what that is like and have that experience.
Excellent.
It's, kind of like
they're going to have their chance, I suspect.
Yeah, and I think it's I think it'll be neat for everybody involved. And as we talked about on Tuesday, I just think it's good to occasionally get out of that Michigan-Ohio State alternating. I won't call it a rut. I mean, those are obviously big games no matter what every year. But I think it's neat to have somebody else and a marquee program in as that whiteout opportunity. So But it's amazing. Excuse me again, not surprising, but amazing the amount of buzz that is generating with it being a night game, and everybody that I'm talking to, at least presuming that it will be the whiteout game. And again, I think a lot of people are going to come into town without tickets and just want to be here for the atmosphere and around that weekend, and that's kind of cool too.
A ranked SEC opponent comes into town, night game, coming off no fans last year. A lot of good reasons to get juiced up about that. Oh my gosh!
All kinds of wonderful reasons.
And not for nothing, this is when you go back to the question of, does Penn State try to keep a Pitt rivalry going year after year? This is one of the reasons that argues against that, because it's just going to be really hard to stick with 7 home games a year, which you need, with only 3 non-conference opportunities. Now, make the scheduling work out from a variety of different perspectives and still bring in marquee matchups like this if you want to play Pitt every year. And I like the idea of playing Pitt every year. But you know what? Like, I really love the idea of playing Auburn in a home and home too.
Yeah, the ideal would be, play Pitt every year and get Auburn and other intersectional games. But the realities with the Big Ten scheduling now, that need for the 7 home games is just, precludes that. And yes, given the choice between those two, yes, I would rather see more and different intersectional games come in. And this is as somebody who absolutely grew up and still has a deep appreciation for the Penn State Pitt series and the history.
Me too. Had. Me too, for sure.
I'm jacked about that Auburn game, and just thinking about the atmosphere leading up to it, and then obviously the game itself is going to be pretty special, regardless of how it plays out. Couple of other things, just real quickly. Stanford, I've had a bunch of people reaching out to me, thoughts on Stanford. First of all, I've had Shane Griffith a while ago, the national champion at 165, who, had that remarkable run at the NCAA tournament, and still has 3 years of eligibility remaining with the extra COVID year.
Yeah.
And he listed, he announced after the season that he was transferring, and I forget now if he tweeted out or just in an interview, but he said the top 3 schools that he was considering were North Carolina, Michigan, and Penn State. And really haven't heard much since then. I have not heard, and I just was looking real quick before we came on. I have not, if he has, I just haven't seen it anywhere where whether or not he's considering going back to Stanford. One thing I had not realized is he has graduated now from Stanford, so he would be a graduate transfer. And so to me, that makes it a little more likely that he will still transfer. Again, I don't think anything's ironclad.
That's interesting. But that guy's like, he's going to be a campus legend.
Yes.
There. Like that, yeah, you could argue he saved 11 sports.
Well, and we're talking with
or 9 or whatever it is.
Before the show, we were talking about the just the short-sightedness of Stanford's administration. And, it's one of those things. I'm glad that they're making the decision. Obviously, I'm very relieved for wrestling and for the other sports that Stanford has reversed position and is going to keep all of its sports and remain a very broad-based athletic program. That being said, why make the initial decision? Why not say, listen, we are up against it. And I mean, say to your alumni, say to, go to the various coaches and booster clubs and everything and say, listen, we're in some dire straits. We got to figure some things out. What are some ideas that, because we're looking at the possibility of, I wish more schools would just before you start axing programs, excuse me, try to be creative, try to think of ways, and have the conversation. Say, listen, this is a very real possibility. We're looking at the possibility of cutting your program. And in the case of wrestling, right, we've seen the wrestling community rally around programs and have saved some, and others have still fell by the wayside. But give the community of those sports and the alumni within your school, again, the opportunity to at least take. Can we find a creative, financially reasonable solution to keep these sports? And instead of, again, making the decision. And I think then you look, and again, I'm very grateful. I wish more schools would do what Stanford did after making the initial decision and reversing. Yep. But I still think you look kind of foolish saying, no, we're cutting 11 sports, and then the political climate changes. We're actually not cutting any of those sports. That looks pretty foolish.
That's an important point you made. I think we don't do enough of this in our society today in general, which is when an organization or a company or a person makes a decision we don't like, and then they reverse it. It's like we clap back on them for waffling and flip-flopping. It's like, no, you should be commended for, even if you didn't do the right thing initially, there should be some sort of positive reinforcement for taking a second look and making the right decision. Now, listen, everything you just said there, Ironhead, look, it's well and good and nice to say. But like in the case of Stanford, you were talking about a small, cash-strapped state school with an alumni base of very modest means. So this idea that Stanford, which can barely keep its lights on, is going to go to its alumni and find contributions to keep the rowing team on campus. I'm not going to say that's a pipe dream, but
Yes, indeed. And that was, I think Stanford finally did realize, as we talked about on this show, I mean, it truly made no sense that they were digging their heels in the ground.
Hey, we got a $30 billion endowment. Not a great look.
The absurdity of this, given the money that was in reserves. And again, in the case of wrestling, the money had been raised to completely endow the program. I mean, at that point, you are just being obstinate for the sake of being obstinate. There's no actual reasoning at that point behind it. And again, very grateful that ultimately cooler heads seem to have prevailed at Stanford. And, we'll see. That being said, there are still a number of programs, I'm talking athletic programs, not wrestling programs, that are facing a critical upcoming year here in terms of athletic departments that might not be quite as flush as a Stanford or a Penn State.
Right.
And listen, I think even at Penn State, I think they're going to be looking long and hard at whether or not they can continue to support at the varsity level all of the athletic programs they have. I think they're going to. My guess is now, and I was not thinking this a year ago, my guess is that they will be able to continue that, because I do think the bounce back is going to be pretty significant and pretty substantial out of the gate, meaning starting this coming fall.
Do you know what I find surprising, Ironhead? I'm listening to you talk about this and thinking back to the many conversations you guys had and I had when I was filling in here, back when we had no sports to talk about and plenty of time to fill. I am still very surprised that the Big Ten did not go try to find a lender and take out, like a $1 billion line of credit or something that doesn't put them so close to the edge. I mean, you can look at it and say, based on what everybody was projecting might happen, we got out of it lucky. But, that's like saying you came out of a car crash and you were still alive. You're just going to be in the hospital for a long time. The fact that there was not more of a push to just go out, borrow money at a really good rate and, keep things on a little bit more stable footing is surprising to me.
Yeah. From
afar. I mean, I don't know the nitty-gritty details for sure.
No, I'm completely with you on that. And again, I don't think we're out of the woods yet. We being college athletics, fans of college athletics, in terms of how this ultimately may shake out. And part of it is going to be, I am curious to see. Again, we're talking about the level of excitement here at Penn State, and listen, that is very real, and I think we'll see that play out. I do wonder at like Mid-American Conference schools and schools that are not having, any school outside of Clemson and the ACC, what is that level of enthusiasm? Or because, we've talked about it here, and I'm having a tough time figuring out exactly my passion for sports is still there, but it is much more handpicked now. And the problem I'm having in my particular case, and Goon and I talked about it, and I do think part of it for me is found some other things to do. I also got married 2 years ago and have a soon-to-be 6-year-old son. So, part of it is my schedule now revolves around the family. And so flicking on any old game that I want in the evening is no longer possible. I have to be more selective, and the Penguins are still one of those selections that I will win out. And it's like, if I have to go down and go to another room and click on the game, which is often what happens, so be it. But when it comes to playoff hockey, at least, I still my passion is still there, and I carve out as much as I can time. Although I didn't see any of the game on Sunday because of family obligations, but did listen to the entire game. But I'm wondering how much, and again, Penn State football is kind of easy to get behind because you at least think they're going to be a contender here, in the foreseeable future. Penn State wrestling fans are excited to see that program, and it'll come back. But, your middle of the road programs and like the Pirates, I mean, even in the lean years, I would pretty much follow the Pirates game in and game out. I got to tell you, I followed them the first couple of weeks pretty closely. I'm checking in periodically just to see how bad they're getting beat,
kind of a chore.
How far down in the standings they're going. But I mean, I'm not following that the way I normally would. And again, probably half and half in terms of COVID related, the fact that the Pirates are awful and the fact that I have family obligations. But I am wondering what the overall ratings for like college football. Everybody's presuming that everything's going to be great. And listen, I think for the big games, they will be. I think people are going to tune in to watch, the marquee matchups. But I'm wondering if the everyday games that usually draw pretty well are going to draw as well. And maybe they will. Maybe they'll draw better. I mean, I genuinely don't know. I'm curious to see how that part plays out, because I don't know if you're, if you're a North Carolina football fan, I mean, good programs but not national title contenders. Are you coming back in mass? Is there going to be the type of enthusiasm just to get it back, and will it sustain itself over the course of the upcoming season? And again, I genuinely have no idea. I could see it playing out either way, and I'm just curious. And same thing with the NFL. I mean, we've talked about the ratings have dropped. That they're still very significant, very substantial, and very profitable. But how does that continue to play out? And again, I think there's some other things in play there with the NFL as well. With some of the, I think, starting to get a little overboard in playing and getting involved in political issues, and I think there's going to be some backlash, as there has been for that. And so I don't know. The entire sports landscape to me is just going to be interesting to follow over the course of the next year or so to see, listen, are we back kind of where we were pre-pandemic? Has it dropped off? Is it picked back up? Because, my God, people just are craving the opportunity. I don't know. And again, I could see it kind of going any of those ways. I wouldn't be shocked with any of the scenarios playing out in terms of greater interest, less interest, or about the same.
In general, I think it's more difficult now than ever to get large numbers of people nationwide to do anything together, including tune into some kind of a broadcast. So it's not to say that the huge numbers that used to be there once upon a time for football or any other sport have migrated somewhere else. They've splintered a million different ways.
Yeah.
So your audience size totals are going to be, I think, considerably lower than if you look at historical data.
Yeah.
But it's not like they're somewhere else. Like something has replaced football and now there's 40 million people watching this. It's like there's 20 million people watching football and like a few pockets of a few million people doing like dozens of other things.
Yeah.
So that universe is contracting, but live sports is still going to be the biggest player in that space. And I think the more you can do event style programming, the better you are set up to succeed.
Yeah.
So like, that's why you see the NFL draft outdraw the World Series.
Yeah.
Because a sport with 165 games and, maybe necessarily there aren't teams or players or markets involved that are really compelling to a national narrative.
Yeah.
There are more people invested in who their team's first round draft pick is going to be than the outcome of the World Series.
Yeah.
So that's why, I'm cautiously optimistic, Ironhead, for hockey, only in that you grade it on a curve in terms of modest growth. But I think going back to ESPN, ABC, the NHL playoffs, as we talk about all the time, is such a phenomenal product. I think they're going to be able to build that as an event.
Yep.
Just like that stupid Lakers-Warriors game that I couldn't stay up even to halftime for was last night.
I'm with you. And I do have a question about that game because I woke up this morning and, headlines all over the place. LeBron wins the game with an amazing
shot.
Three-pointer.
Yep. I've been asleep for 3 hours.
My question is, when you're reading that, because it was about an hour and a half later until I realized, and because I clicked real quick and I saw the shot, man, it's incredible. The way it was in every headline I saw, and maybe this is just me not taking the time to be a little more diligent. I thought it was like a buzzer beater. I thought this won the game at the end. The way the headlines are, it's like screaming like, "Oh man, can you believe this?" Then I watched the one and they're like running down the other way, and then I finally got to look at the clock. It's like there's still like a minute left.
Yeah,
I mean that's still a great shot. I mean but the way it was being presented, I feel like this is just
came away with the same conclusion
within media in general, sports media in particular. I think they were trying to sell people that didn't watch that game that this was a last-second heroic. And again, it's still a great shot. I'm granting you, but that's not the same as hitting it at the buzzer, right?
Oh, no doubt.
I mean, I get it. It ultimately won the game, but it's the difference, right, between hitting a home run that wins the game in the bottom of the seventh, and then you have a couple of scoreless innings, and it still wins the game. I mean, I get it. The headlines were accurate. That three-pointer is what was the difference. But when it was being presented as though that was the walk-off home run,
as time expires type of deal. Yep.
And I'm sorry. There's a difference there. And again, it's still great. I mean, it was a wonderful shot, and all, hats off to LeBron and the Lakers and all of that. But man, I'm like, well, wait a second. I think they were trying to fool me because that isn't what happened at all. They still had a minute in which nobody scored in the game last night.
Ironhead, I know better. I have learned over the years not to bring up the NBA specifically on this program.
Yes.
But let me cheat a little bit.
Sure.
Only because I want to ask you about this, and I do want to talk about it in a broader context. I want to get your opinion on what they have done with the playoffs this year, with this play-in tournament to get into the 7 and 8 seeds. So whether you care about the NBA or not, this is certainly the same kind of concept could be applied to the NHL. I view it as like very much in the same vein as the runner on second in extra innings in baseball, like that kind of thing. This idea that we're going to tinker around the edges with a sport to try to make it more compelling. And so in the case of the NBA, what they've looked at it and said is, now look, the Western Conference is a little weird because of injuries this year. Normally you wouldn't have the defending national champion fighting for an 8 seed.
Yep.
But typically, I mean, the 7 and 8 seed in the NBA playoffs is basically the Washington Generals. I mean, in the Eastern Conference, they don't even have, they're below 500. I mean, these are bad basketball teams typically. So the NBA said, look, there is not a lot of juice at the bottom of the seedings typically, and so that makes for a less interesting first round. So let's try to interject a little bit of, tension and excitement into this. So we'll take what would be the 7 through 10 seed, and we'll play them in 2 single game scenarios where the 7 and 8 seeds play, and the winner gets the 7 seed in the playoffs. So that's the Lakers now. Yep. And the Golden State Warriors will now play the winner of a 9-10 seed game, with the loser being out and the winner getting the 8 seed.
Yep.
So listen, again, it's harking back to the days of David Stern, where we're going to have a rematch in the NBA or Western Conference Finals of the 7 and 8 seed, because it'll be like, Utah and Phoenix played these great seasons and then get knocked off by LA and Golden State in the first round. But just in general, that's not going to be the case most years.
Yeah.
Most years it's going to look like the Eastern Conference, where you have a bunch of junk teams all fighting for the right to get pummeled in the first round. Your thoughts? Does this make it any more compelling whatsoever?
Well, there's a couple of things. So from the league's standpoint, right, and we were just talking about in the NFL, the fans are invested, right? You feel like, and part of it is, the NFL is set up so that you at least feel like every organization, if it makes the right moves in the offseason, has a chance to at least be a playoff
team. No question.
I mean, you start each year, and again, there's obviously always exceptions. You have teams that you pretty much know aren't going to be there. Few teams that you pretty much know are. But even with that, I mean, we've had years where one of the teams that you knew wasn't going to make the playoffs made the playoffs, and one of the teams you knew was.
3/4 of the league's fans can start every season thinking, my team's got a legitimate shot to go to the Super Bowl. That is a pretty miraculous way they've engineered that league over the years.
So I think in general, right, and we've seen it with baseball. That's why baseball keeps expanding the playoffs, to your point earlier, right? About halfway through the season, because it's so long and things start to filter out. Yes, where you have the pennant races and you have 2 or 3 teams that are right in the mix, man, it is compelling, fun stuff when August and September roll around. But there's close to about half of the cities that are checking out by August in terms, again, you're going to have your diehard fans, but the casual fans are like, well, no, this team isn't going anywhere. It's football season.
It's May, Ironhead. Didn't you just say earlier you're already checked out on the Pirates?
I did check out on the Pirates. It makes sense from a financial standpoint, right? You want to keep the fans in as many cities as you can with your product engaged and interested in it. So having more teams contending for the playoffs and having that opportunity, right? And we can argue about whether what degree you should take pride. It's just like the same thing with NCAA basketball. It's still a big deal that you made the NCAA tournament field, whether you got bounced by 30 points by the number 1 seed in that opening weekend or opening night or not. It's still, hey, the next year we were an NCAA tournament team versus not. So it makes sense to me that the NBA is doing it. I don't know how to do it any differently. I think that the one game makes sense. I don't like, in sports like basketball and baseball, and hockey for that matter, I don't like the one game postseason. I just think it's more difficult, and especially when you're getting teams that are fairly close in terms of talent level.
Sure.
and baseball especially, even more so. I can live with it in basketball because, again, it's still the better team on that given night wins. Baseball, because you can have one dominant pitcher and see the Pirates playoff appearances, for example, of this. I mean, you can have clearly the better team, but if you have that one great dominant pitcher, and that's who you faced it, then you're out. And that's, baseball's a little different in that way, and hockey's a little different in that way. In that, again, if you had the one game, right, a goalie can stand on his head for one game, and make a difference. So I get it. I guess in using that for other sports, I mean, football's already. Most of these sports have already watered down the playoffs to a significant degree. I guess the one thing that is kind of amazing that it's taken as long as it has, and I do think we're going to see the push here to go to at least 6 and probably 8 very soon, is college football, because again, fans are outside of Clemson and Alabama. Fans are tired of seeing Clemson and Alabama and knowing that your national champion more years than not is going to come from those two programs, and that the only other schools that are even in the running have been pretty much Georgia, Oklahoma, and Notre Dame. And again, you're going to get
and Ohio State.
And Ohio State. Thank you. How could I forget the Buckeyes?
And look, don't put Notre Dame in there. They're fake.
But you know that they're going to be one of the teams
in the mix.
And
sure.
Yes, that's and if they get in there, you know that they're going to get absolutely shellacked whenever they face the Alabamas or the Clemsons.
Yeah, think about that. So think about the fact that what a phony baloney league the ACC is, and they got 2 playoff teams last year.
Yeah,
what a joke! What an absolute joke.
Yeah, that
would have been like if the NFC East had 2 playoff teams last year. Ironhead.
Yes, it would have. We'll take a break here. When we'll come back, we'll talk some Penguins hockey. The beloved Pens did
congratulations
tie that series with the Islanders on Tuesday night. Talk a little bit about Game 3 and some of the issues that the Penguins will have to confront tonight as we continue with the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show from Quaker Steak and Lube.
Lion Country Kia is offering exceptional deals on your new Kia during Kia's Command the Season event.
We have a nice selection on the 2021 Kia Sportage with various options and prices as low as $26,800, saving you $3,000. Or if you demand big power and towing capacity, slip into one of the 2021 Kia Sorrentos available on our lot starting at $32,680.
Discover why Kia drivers throughout the area come to Lion Country Kia or visit online at lioncountrykia.com.
Quaker Steak and Lube is throwing open the garage doors and setting up the umbrellas. It's patio season. Come enjoy great food, drinks, and fun in the sun. There's always something happening at Quaker Steak and Lube, but we're really amping up our event calendars for our favorite time of year. Visit thelube.com to find out what's happening at your local Lube this season. Lunch, happy hour, dinner, or late night, indoors or outside, at Quaker Steak and Lube, you'll always find big flavors, friendly faces, and lots of fun.
I'm here with Keith Goon Conlon, and you've got a little trip you're cooking up for August. Tell us about it.
So we got 4 or 5 ex-football players, Shane Conlon, myself, Troy Drayton, Justin Kirpakis, and Mike Maudie. We're going to go down to Barbados, leave from different airports, 5 days, 4 nights. We got to get our skills ready to go for the football season, so what better way to do it than down in Barbados?
People come along on this trip, what are they going to be doing down there?
Very laid-back atmosphere. We're going to have golfing trips, fishing trips, and then at night, the days are very, very chill, and then at nighttime there'll be cocktail parties and, old viewings of old football games from Penn State. You might be watching the 87 Fiesta Bowl, the 95 Rose Bowl, a private viewing for all the people who are on the trip of Saving Your Roar, which is the 2012 team documentary. So the biggest thing is it is 100% refundable. LionsLegendsTravels.com. Everything is on there. It's $19.95 a person. There's multiple airports, so check in.
Good stuff, Goon. Lions Legends Travel. Check it out.
He's not getting that car in there.
No, sir.
Hey, look at these two troublemakers.
Johnny, how are you?
Wicked car. Is that new?
Yeah, it's a Sonata. Let me park it.
Oh, you're not fitting your car in there.
Chris, stop being a smarty pants, all right? Look who's got Smart Park. Even Bruiser can park it. Just hit the clicker. I can park it anywhere.
Beaver Stadium?
Parked it.
Even the Jordan Center?
Parked it.
Even Medler Field?
Even Bruiser parked it.
Hey, you can't park there.
He's got Smart Park.
Wicked smart.
Blaze Alexander Hyundai. It's wicked smart.
Hey, yo.
We welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Chris Buchanani once again kindly filling in for the dear Goon on this Thursday afternoon. And, getting ready for Game 3, another pivotal game here in the Penguins-Islanders series as they shift to Nassau Coliseum after the Penguins 2-1 victory. Penguins came out like a ball of fire in the first period and then, kind of hung on. I mean, it played well, I thought, throughout the rest of the game, but the Islanders definitely picked up some momentum. A few things I'm curious about tonight. One, what is that energy level in the first period from both teams? I certainly expect the Islanders to come out flying. Can the Penguins match that and be as ready to go as they were in Game 2? Because there's no question the Pens came out ready to play on Tuesday night. And again, no question the Islanders will be in that same mode tonight. The question is, can the Pens match that energy level at the outset? I thought Jari played a terrific game. Probably the difference maker, really, in Game 2. Need that same type of performance tonight. But the thing that I'm most looking forward to tonight, and with both excitement and anxiousness, is the Penguins' power play, because they have not scored in 5 opportunities and have not looked great here in the last few chances. And that's a unit that was a difference maker down the stretch this season for Pittsburgh. And it's obviously a chance to build momentum and and change a game on a dime when you can take advantage of those opportunities. And I think the Islanders have changed some things up and made it a little more frustrating for the Penguins. But I still look, and I'm expecting Malkin will be on the ice tonight, and they've got to take advantage at some point, and that point needs to be pretty soon, you would think, again, of those opportunities and start cashing in order to try to take a hold of this series. That being said, I think this series sets up to be a bunch of games like we've seen in these first two. Overtime and 1-goal games. I mean, I'm hoping and I think it's more likely the Penguins and the Islanders would have a game where, it just and I thought for a while it might be that game on Tuesday. Yeah. But it's starting to have the feel to me, and watch tonight. It'll be a 6-0 win for the Islanders. I don't think. I
doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think the Penguins are going to get rolled even in a game.
Yeah, I think that's right.
I do think the I think the Penguins have enough firepower that again that could happen in a game, but it is feeling to me going into this thing tonight like we're just looking at a bunch of 1-goal and overtime games in this entire series, regardless of how long this series plays out. And it's both fun and agonizing as a fan, right? I mean, it's like I was telling you on that opening game. Like, even as I'm watching, I'm like, I should be enjoying this more, because this really is. I mean, it was a fun hockey game. Like, if you take the fandom out of it and, wanting your team to win, I mean, it really was just a fun up and down pace, back and forth game. And it was entertaining. And then you get to overtime. And again, it's the greatest thing in sports, but it's also the most agonizing if you have a team involved, because every single shot is the potential end, and again can be a dagger to your heart, or it can be the one of the more thrilling moments that you'll have in sports. So excited about this game tonight. Really hoping the Penguins, hoping Malkin does get back in and that they can shore some things up here with the power play. But really hoping they are able to come out and again, the first goal is always important, never critical. But I feel like if the Penguins can get that first goal tonight and just kind of be able to let out a deep breath and survive whatever the Islanders throw at them early, that this will set up much more nicely for the Pens than if the Islanders score first and, again, get the fans into it and get their confidence up again. But I feel like this whole series is just going to be the last couple of minutes of the third period and potentially overtime. You're just going to be on the edge of your seat if you're a fan of either of these teams. That's what it feels like to me going in.
Mm-hmm. You said that on Tuesday, and I thought then you were right, and it's looking even more like it's going in that direction.
Hockey playoffs as a whole, though, they really have been fun. There really is nothing quite like Stanley Cup playoff hockey, and it's just such a grind. I mean, every night feels like it's like we were talking about Tuesday. Is that a must win? You can't really argue that Game 3 is a must win, but man, do you want to be up 2-1 or down 1-2 in a best of 7 series, right? And so just every game feels like it is everything. And yet, again, the grind that it is to get to 16 wins in a hockey postseason, there really is nothing like it in sports. I mean, the NFL, obviously winning the Super Bowl, winning a championship in any sport is very difficult. It is not a grind the way it is in hockey, in any other sport. And it just, obviously, it takes a physical and mental toll on the players, but I'm telling you, the emotional toll it takes on fans. And it's like every round, right? I mean, you want to obviously advance. If you're a fan of a team, you want your team to advance, but then that the agony starts all over and it ramps up, right? It's just and it's the same, I guess, same thing in the NFL playoffs or, Major League Baseball playoffs. I mean, every round there's obviously added import. You want to be there, but man, one of the more you almost would rather, and I've talked with some Bills fans about this, you would almost rather not be in the Super Bowl and lose it than to get there and lose it. It's the same thing as again in any sport. It's just when you get that close. The Penguins last year, again, I thought had a chance. In some ways, those first round exits are just easier to take than if you lose, especially a 6 or 7 game series in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's like, okay, well, my team, for whatever reason, crap the bed. We're out of here.
Goon and I know all about watching our team lose in the Stanley Cup Finals, Ironhead.
So
leading the league.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I hear
Have a lot of fun. They stick with you.
But that being said, I would much rather, just so we're clear there, beloved Penguins, I'd much rather you get there this year than not. But it's just an emotional toll for the fans as well, because again, you just feel like you're investing so much in each game, and going in, right, you're best case scenario, you're looking at probably 22, 23 games to get those 16 wins. That's best case scenario most years with most teams, and especially these days where we talk about parity in sports, and but man, in hockey especially, right? I mean, you're never surprised. You're
home ice doesn't matter. Home advantage in the NHL playoffs, I think, is less significant than in any other postseason.
For sure. Which
is what makes it all interesting, right?
Because you feed off of that energy, no matter which team you are, right? And so much of it is, again, you've just got to go back to the grind, I mean, it is being persistent, and no matter how many times you're denied, keep running your plays and your system, and believing and trusting that eventually you're going to be able to break through and get the goals that you need when you need them.
Yeah.
And that's again not an easy thing to believe when you face a hot goaltender. And listen, the goaltending, by the way, in Tuesday night, I didn't think it was bad on Sunday. And again, I was listening to the game, so a little bit of a disadvantage. Watching that game Tuesday, both those guys were very, very good. I mean,
I thought it was going to be 4-2, and it probably should have been.
Yes. No, we'll see what happens tonight. I again feel good about the Penguins going in. I think they have figured some things out in terms of what works. I think you'll see, obviously, both teams are going to continue to adjust. I mean, that's what happens in every series. I just think the Penguins have I think they're the more talented team overall, and I think they are going to figure some things out here with the power play. I think they will figure some things out with how they want to more consistently attack the Islanders. The one thing, Crosby in both of these first two games, I mean, that guy just anticipates like few we've ever seen in the game. I mean, we talk about guys that just can see plays develop before they happen. And it's a rare gift in a sport like hockey where, again, you're trying to figure out how the puck is going to bounce and where to position yourself. And I'm telling you, if you watch Sidney Crosby regularly, there are very few people that can anticipate and envision how things are going to play out on a given sequence better than Sidney Crosby. And I do think, when this series is said and done, that he's still going to be the difference maker, or at least a one of the big difference makers in this series. But again, very entertaining first couple of games, and I suspect it's going to remain the case here moving forward. And looking forward to watching it, because for me, once hockey season ends, it's a long wait till football because I have nothing else to fall back on here, kids, over the summer with my beloved Buccos. You at least have the Phillies to
they're hanging in there. They're hanging in there
to I think at least potentially be in the conversation here for a playoff spot long term. Throughout the summer. No such hope any longer exists.
Not looking that way,
Buccos
fans.
Which, again, not surprising, nonetheless disappointing. And I'm still not sure. I have some buddies that believe that we're going to see a similar, in another 2 or 3 years, similar run to what we had previously. I'm not at all convinced that that's going to be the case.
That is a bold prediction.
Yes. And listen, it's not that I don't there is some young talent. I mean, I'm not even disputing that. I'm disputing whether the organization understands at all how to put together a winning team and keep any necessary components together for that to happen, let alone a championship team. I mean, I'm just talking about getting to the playoffs. We all agree that the Pirates are never going to make the move with current ownership to actually get over the top and win a championship. The debate is whether or not they can get back into that playoff mix and have a nice little 2 to 4 year run at least being part of that conversation in the postseason, and hoping, I guess, that you catch lightning in a bottle one of those seasons, which, again, very rarely, if ever, will happen with the Pirates organization.
Can I tell you my idea for a TV show? So it's like a reverse Shark Tank, kind of. Concept of Shark Tank is all these super successful venture capitalists evaluate business ideas, and they pick a winner.
Yeah.
So this is kind of like just the inverse of that, where you get like Bob Nutting, Dan Snyder, James Dolan, maybe like Jimmy, Jerry Jones type owner, but you get like four of these guys. Mark Davis in Las Vegas, he'd be another good. Just anyone infamous for making terrible personnel decisions, terrible organizational decisions. And then what you do is you have a blind like draft pick scenario, for example, or like free agent signing, where you take historical data, but you take the names off it. And you have 3 scouts come in and they are pitching these owners to take their guy. And so, the audience is playing along at home. They can vote online, like the owners get to make their pick. And so the goal for each one of these scouts is you've got to convince this group of doofus owners to not make the dumbest pick. Right, like you are trying to stop them from making the mistake, and then they make their blind choices, and then they reveal it's like, oh, you just drafted Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning. You just signed Dana Stubblefield to a 7-year contract with $54 million guaranteed. That kind of a deal.
I like it.
Bob Nutting would absolutely be on the panel. He'd be a regular. He'd be like center square,
and would consistently be among the winners / losers in the little contest.
No, sorry, you just signed Isaiah Thomas to be your GM. Like your franchise is destined for a decade of the doldrums.
Good Lord. Yep, I like it though. I like the idea, and it would be fun theater, if nothing else.
The only problem is I think you'd probably have a difficult time getting a bunch of billionaires who think very highly of themselves to come on a show where the premise is entirely dependent on the perception of them as complete boobs. However accurate it may be.
Sure, there's that.
Speaking of Dan Snyder and complete boobs, I saw a headline today. Now, I did not read the article. This is very 2021 of me. I saw a headline on Twitter, did not click on the article, but it said Dan Snyder wants to build his own Jerry World. Now, that seems like a very Dan Snyder thing to do. Definitely putting the cart before the horse.
Yes.
Like, build your lavish facility before you have a team that deserves to play in it necessarily. Although I think, they're doing some nice things personnel-wise.
Then again, look what the Cowboys have done with Jerry's World.
Correct.
So actually, it would probably, if
it's a nice place to hold the college national championship game.
Yes, absolutely right.
So did you go to the 2010 Indiana game that we played down there?
I did
at
not.
FedEx Field.
I had every, I won't bore you with the details. No, I did not.
Well, not only did they totally screw you on parking costs, which I heard that. Everyone else in my group, including a couple of Redskins fans, they were just absolutely disgusted that they were putting money into Dan Snyder's pocket. Yeah. I, on the other hand, felt pretty good about it because as an Eagles fan, doing my part to enable Dan Snyder's continued ownership of that franchise felt like a good investment. But FedEx Field is an absolute dump. I hate when college football is played in pro football environments. And that was one of the most sterile, lifeless stadiums I have ever been in. And, look, in terms of the life cycle of stadiums, that's to like the newer end, I guess. I mean, it's been up there for a while. I mean, you and I are just getting old, right, Ironhead? We still remember RFK Stadium, right? But I could totally see why Dan Snyder wants to bulldoze that place and build something to compete with Jerry Jones.
Yeah, and listen, I do think in that division, right, at least.
They look like the favorites to win it. I really think.
He can make some headway, so.
It's going to be interesting to see whether there is any sort of intrigue around any of these other quarterbacks moving, but most particularly Aaron Rodgers, because I do think Washington has a team that is set up to win right now.
Yeah.
They've got a very, very good defensive line, pretty good defense overall.
Yeah.
They've got nice skill options on offense. Not terrific, but you know what? If you have a defense that can keep the opponent scoring in the low 20s, you just have to be competent on offense. And man, you add all due respect to Fitzmagic, you add a legit quarterback to that team. And like we were just talking about earlier, They could go from, just being a doormat, winning the worst division in football last year, to a team that could absolutely represent the NFC in the Super Bowl.
No question. Nope. It can change very quickly, one way or another, the fortunes of an NFL franchise. Well, we hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah,
looking forward to.
Sorry, we ended the show talking about the Washington football team.
Well, that was an inadvertent blunder, but enjoy the PGA Championship. Enjoy, those of you that have teams in the NHL playoffs, enjoy the playoffs, and those of you that have Major League Baseball teams, enjoy Major League Baseball. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday. Until then, be good and be safe.
Sixers